protection of the vaults should be important to everyone. To come up to the surface one day and restart civilization. Can you tell me what's happened in the last 200 years?
Hey yo, what's good? Welcome to The Gist. With me, Jared. I've got a special guest here with me today. He is the Prince of Perspiration and the family fan of Fallout. He is Jedd. Say what's up to the people, Jedd.
What's up, everybody? Happy to be here again on The Gist to talk about probably one of my favorite video game franchises of all time.
Okay, well let's get right to it. So, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Fallout is a video game adaptation that released on Amazon not too long ago.
Yep.
I was not as enthusiastic to watch it because I had no idea about really this show. I wasn't somebody who played the games as much, and obviously you're the one who played the games.
That's me.
In terms of our family. And it's a show about what happens when nuclear fallout, pun intended, happens on, we're basically in California right now.
Yes.
And we're seeing all these different parts of society, how they reacted to the fallout that had happened. Is that a fair assessment of the show?
That's basically the premise, yeah. I will say now, the premise of the show is more rooted, I would say, I believe, in either Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. Those are actually ones I have not played yet, so the show may or may not have gotten me to start playing it soon. But I am more of a fan of Fallout 4, which takes place on the East Coast.
Nice. So let's keep it non-spoiler for now.
Cool.
What did you think about the Fallout series?
That is a great first question, Jared. I think that we can be on the same page that when it comes to video game adaptations into like a live show or a movie, we have had a very interesting roster of things to look out for. Totally not talking about Mortal Kombat Annihilation, but...
Or Assassin's Creed.
Not talking about any of those or anything else like that. Fallout, this TV show, was actually not that bad, in my opinion, as a show that adapted a video game. It's hard to kind of capture the experience of what you get in video games into a TV show, but for someone who is new to the series, and for someone who's pretty old to the series as well, it actually wasn't too bad. I feel that you don't need to know the story entirely in order to watch the show, but at the same time, as somebody who does know the story to a certain degree, it was nice. There were things in the show that actually worked pretty well, that were maybe little homages to the video games, the video game mechanics, everything like that. I enjoyed the show, actually.
So you would say that you're pretty satisfied as far as it being a good, faithful video game adaptation?
Good. Faithful, a little bit harder to say, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but the Fallout the show, they did kind of take their own spin on the story. The characters that you see in this story, I can't recall seeing or hearing from anything within the games.
Oh, really?
Exactly, yeah. So this is all their own. It's what do you call it? This original kind of adaptation or something like that. So it's not. So let me make sure this is clear for the viewers. It's not exactly a movie of the games. I mean, we can get that from YouTube or whatever, but it's more so a like almost telling a story that could be within the games, but more so just in the universe of Fallout itself, right? So it's not necessarily faithful and like it sticks to how the games went actually, but I mean it's just a cool like little story that could possibly take place in the games.
That's interesting, yeah, because I wasn't sure if the characters that we were seeing were actually based off of specific characters in the game. Obviously, there are different groups that are introduced that are in the game that we get to see. So, from what I hear you saying, it was a good adaptation, not perfect, but you overall liked it. It's not the worst video game adaptation that we got.
Yeah. There were speaking of the characters introduced, yes, we had the Vault Dwellers, the ignorant of everything going outside of the vaults, and we're here to save the world types. We had the Vault Dwellers. And then we had the Brotherhood of Steel, probably one of the most famous names in the whole Fallout universe. Victorian brothers and sisters. Just kidding. Or am I? the kind of one of the newfound, newly established military regimes in the Fallout games as well. And then you also have the ghouls, probably my favorite character in the series, haha. Then you have just kind of like the civilians who have had to deal with life in the nuclear wasteland, right?
Okay.
So though I will tell you, I mean, those are characters in the games, and actually in Fallout 4, my favorite, you do play as a vault dweller, and then you have to like go out into the world as well. But again, like the premise in Fallout 4 is different from the show. And like I said, the show kind of takes its own story, and that's what I found really cool about it.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad that you liked it. Well, for me, I liked the first 20 or so minutes.
Oh, God. What? Oh, gosh.
And then the rest I just didn't really like. I think the best parts of the show was that it looked very good. Like, it didn't seem like they were in fake CGI environments. It seemed like they were on like a physical location.
Yeah.
I think the CGI was pretty good. The costuming was pretty good.
Cool.
I also like the soundtrack, the score of those retro old-timey music, but it's also in kind of like a post-apocalyptic future. And from the handful of times that I'd seen you play the game, that seems very aligned with how the game plays itself out.
It's actually one of my favorite parts about the show. Everyone looked as they should. They actually, the power armor that the Brotherhood of Steel Soldiers wear, I think they adapted that pretty well, and it was very cool to see how they did that. Vault Dweller is the same. Everyone calls them the blue jumpsuits. Blue jumpsuits. Fallout 4, you get the nickname Blue from one of the characters because you're literally wearing a bright blue, untarnished, super clean vault suit. The ghouls, the ghoul, didn't look too bad either. Honestly, I feel like it kind of made sense for what they were going for. Ghouls actually generally in the game are more so, I'm pretty sure they explained this in the show too, but ghouls generally are actually kind of humans whose minds have deteriorated to a point so badly that they just go back to feral instincts because of the radiation. But then you do have ghouls that are actually still more civil, but they just look how they do. The only weird thing was that his eyes were still there, but again, it makes sense for a video game adaptation because it can't all be completely perfect. But
sure,
it wasn't bad.
Yeah, and I think, like you were saying, if you were somebody like me who knew nothing about the video game, I think the story does a decent job at describing the world and the different groups of people. But I think if you were looking for a great story, like I think in terms of like Last of Us has a really good story, especially in terms of like the actual video game to series adaptation, that's pretty top of the line. And I think the Mario movie is another video game adaptation, but again to a movie that had a decent enough story, but it had a lot of the nice things that you wanted to see in a movie like that.
Yeah, I agree.
But for me, the story in the Fallout show was primarily the reason that I didn't like it.
Really?
Yeah, and I think, overall, I would say, like, if you're looking for a fairly entertaining, like, I was mildly entertained by the show. It wasn't, like, horrible. It's more lighthearted, definitely graphic at some points, which...
heads up, probably, just be prepared for blood and certain things that happen, so just a heads up for that one.
Which I liked, because I'm all about the violence and stuff, so I think that was really good. But if you're looking for, like, some narratively compelling aspects from a show, I think this show left me wanting for a lot more from a narrative perspective. What say you, Jedd?
Interesting. I didn't even realize that was a thing. I thought it was totally fine. I don't know what you mean the narrative aspect was lacking. And remembering how this show does go down, I will be completely honest, right? I can remember points where I was watching the show and it kind of was a little just bit like, where are we going exactly with this kind of stuff? And so as someone who doesn't know this series, who's just kind of getting into it, with the show in mind, I can understand it can be just a little bit weird, but as somebody who has friends who've played like 3 New Vegas many times, me myself playing Fallout 4 many times, I could understand where the story could be taken, and for that's what made it okay for me. I remember watching this show and I was seeing, oh, this is kind of like where they're going with this kind of thing. So because of my knowledge, I guess you can argue that I had more patience and more understanding with it, because I understand that they're building up to something.
Sure, right.
Versus someone who has no idea what's going on, and it's like, why are we here now? I can understand it for sure.
Yeah.
Even though you're wrong, but it's fine.
For me, I would say like the first 20 minutes of the show, and then the final episode, parts of it were probably my favorite aspects.
Okay.
But it was like everything in the middle I didn't really like. But overall, I think I would say I'm still fairly interested in what's going on for season 2.
Okay.
Because I liked Ella. Let me get her name.
Ella Purnell.
Yeah, I liked. Of course you did.
Okay, you know what?
I knew this was going to be a thing.
I remember you, baby. It's all good.
I liked her performance. Like, she did a really great job
I agree.
as the starring actress.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I like that it wasn't a stereotypical lady boss kind of character, that even though she's this fish out of water person, she's still got a lot of adversity thrown her way. And she was kind of shown the error of her naivety. Naivety?
Naivete.
Naivete. Yeah, she was shown how that doesn't work in the post-apocalyptic world of Earth versus the Vault that she was living in for most of her life. And especially in episode 1, where she's like introduced as she pretty much knows everything and anything, but the people skills are kind of lacking.
Yeah.
And then she gets the crap beat out of her. I was like, oh wow, like thankfully she doesn't have all of a sudden this superhero strength that wouldn't make sense. But thankfully, like, I liked her character. I liked Walton Goggins as the Ghoul, and what was his other name? And as Cooper Howard, the back in the day, the flashbacks.
Yes.
And I think that was a nice part of the story too, the flashbacks and how it expands.
Yes.
And how it builds upon the plot.
Yeah.
I think that was interesting, but in order for me to disclose all of my frustrations with the story, I think we should get into spoiler territory. Sound good?
Spoiler territory. Spoiler territory.
Okay.
You've been warned. Here we go.
So for spoilers, since I knew nothing about what the show was and how it all played out, I liked how they introduced everything with the Vault Dwellers, and then all of a sudden, like, there's something bad about these people who are in Vault 32, that they need to conjoin their two vaults and have them marry Lucy.
The whole,
and then it all goes awry, and I love that, because we had a lot of violence. You could tell they were doing like kind of like this light-hearted but pretty graphic kind of tone of the show, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And like I said, it was nice to see the main protagonist not start off the show in an invincible territory. Like, she had a lot to learn, and she
absolutely
didn't win every fight. So I thought that was great.
Yeah.
And then we are introduced to Maximus, who is, I think, the worst part of the show. He was so frustrating. He was a complete idiot, and he didn't change. He was an idiot who failed upwards. Like, it made no sense to me why he got the things that he got.
Yeah.
And especially when you think of, like, this Brotherhood of Steel is a faction that, from what I understand, was supposed to be people who survived the nuclear apocalypse up top. Am I wrong?
A little bit. So the Brotherhood of Steel, again, is a military regime that was made during the whole nuclear fallout. Not necessarily survivors, but the best way I can phrase it is that it's just people who just banded together, who possibly had like military background, and then just kind of made the whole like thing together, as way as I understand it too. I want to say that, I'm like mixing up the stories a little bit, I think, but in the games you had the New California Republic in California, obviously, like that,
Moldaver,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly, right? And then I'm pretty sure there was a member who didn't like how they did things, and then he defected and started the Brotherhood of Steel, if I remember right. Their whole thing is ancient technology is the way to go. Shoot first, basically, ask questions later.
Right.
Ghouls and all the other like nuclear irradiated like life forms are plagues upon humanity, and we need to restore humanity back to like the ancient powerhouse that it was before the bombs fell, using the old technology.
Beneath the Commonwealth, there is a cancer, known as the Institute. A malignant growth that needs to be cut before it infects the surface.
Right, and I would say that's another, like, downside for me about the show as far as, like, the motivations and where these different groups are coming from. Because I don't have the context that you had as far as knowing the history of what the previous games had established. So I think the show, I don't think it did a great job at conveying what these different groups want. Like, I get the Vault Dwellers, there were these rich people who survive the nuclear apocalypse, and then again, I didn't know that these other people weren't survivors per se.
Right.
And then apparently there's this other scientist group where the scientist guide had come from, but we get no backstory for them. And then there's these other savages or ravagers with Moldaver's group who create the California Republic, whatever.
Oh, okay, yeah, two different. Yeah, so like the NCR, New California Republic, is just like the good people who like decided to like make
their
make
own
something,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the Raiders, and Raiders are obviously just people who.
Isn't that Moldaver's group?
Oh gosh, what's her name?
The
like,
woman.
Moldaver.
Moldaver. Daver, yeah.
Moldaver. Yeah, I would consider her a Raider group. Yeah.
But then she
was like a
creates
Raider
the New
queen.
California Republic, kind of, in the show.
Is that what was the premise?
Kind of. I mean, again, it wasn't super clear to me. But again, this is the point that I'm saying, that like you have these different groups, and I didn't really feel like I get to understand where these different groups were coming from.
Oh, okay.
Because from the Brotherhood of Steel aspect,
yeah,
you'd think they'd have these systems ironed out because they're a militaristic organization.
Yep.
But with how stupid Maximus is, the decisions they make relating to him, like why would he be one accused of harming a brother, and why are they even allowing him to get bullied when that's supposed to be a frowned upon thing? But I guess that's okay if it makes him compelling as a character in the story. But then he is accused of hurting his best friend, which again is stupid because that's his friend and seemingly only friend in the show. And then he gets to take their position
as like the scribe.
Yeah, the squire.
Squire.
For the night. Like, why? They already showed in the show that he's not doing his homework or whatever. Like, he's stupid. He doesn't know the things you need to know as a squire. Like, he was reprimanded by the religious teacher guy that he didn't stick to his studies. So it doesn't make sense to me why he would be given that opportunity when it seems like there's clearly other candidates who were better fit for the position.
The one thing we can agree on is Maximus's character. I did not like him either, actually. The failing upward that you mentioned earlier, I feel basically tracks him entirely in terms of the role for the show. My impression of the Brotherhood of Steel was definitely a very regimented, very disciplined, very high standard, our way or the highway type thing, or basically our way or get gunned down type thing.
Almost like an authoritarian.
Very authoritarian.
Yeah.
And the way they kind of spinned it, I didn't think it was bad, like the kind of religious backing of it. I'm like, okay, that kind of, I can understand that, right? But the lacking of
intelligence,
and I guess like the lacking of discipline, I was like, these are the soldiers that I was ready to take up guns for in the video game? Like, this is not...
Right.
The I can't remember his name, but the knight he worked under, who was like scared of the bear, I was like, oh gosh, like help me! I was like, this is a knight? Like, I'm pretty sure knights are, my understanding, are like, they're the brave. We're here to like business and business only. Shout out Paladin Dans for those of us that know, right? Like they are.
Seemed like
they're not wimps. They're not cowards.
Right. It seemed like they were conveying that the knights were more of an elite group of people, and then based on how they conveyed the senior knight, I don't even remember what his name was. I know the actor, but I can't remember the actor's name right now. Titus.
Yeah. I think Knight Titus. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Knight Titus guy, he was an idiot too. Like, why would you?
Yeah. Okay.
If you're incapacitated, why would you verbally abuse the squire who has all the things to save you?
Yep.
Like, this is the militaristic organization that survived the nuclear fallout, like, that doesn't make sense to me.
It was weird
then
to me too.
As the show played out, we see Maximus be even more stupid.
Yep.
With the other squire. He
Yep.
doesn't know how to work the suit.
Yep.
He gets stuck, and the power inconsistencies were frustrating to me. How he could like kick something and it would destroy a building.
Yep.
But then he would like fight people and like
It wouldn't be blasted into pieces or something.
right. Like there was just inconsistencies there.
Yep.
And then by the end of the show, like he's still failing upwards. Like he is face to the tribunal or the religious leaders when he gets back to the Brotherhood of Steel home base, and then he gets even more rewards when he clearly disobeyed their orders. He killed, implicitly or explicitly as far as they know, Titus, who is of a higher position than him.
He's the knight, yeah.
And then it's even found out that he didn't sabotage his friend, and then they still believe that he's, for some reason, the person to create a new society with. Like, that, it just didn't make sense to me. Like, why would these people who are seemingly made out to be superior make all these incompetent decisions?
I would have preferred if they definitely went the route of the Brotherhood of Steel weren't like blubbering idiots. They were actually like, I would have actually been more open to the idea of like, if I were to kind of just rewrite like the season 1, if Maximus was actually like a worthy soldier, like he wasn't like he wasn't lame. Like
I was fine like with him being introduced as somebody who's out of his depth and gets a lucky break, but then you can't keep doing that by the end of the show and have him make. There was basically only one time he made a good decision, and that was like to help that's the actress.
Lucy.
Was to help Lucy by giving her the, and making a decision like they don't know what head that they need.
Yeah.
And like, okay, I was like, that was smart. Like the one smart thing that you one smart choice you made all season.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then it's like, and then how does he stay alive? He got hit by a power suit in the body or in the face by her dad at the end. Yeah. And he doesn't die. Like,
power inconsistencies.
That was so frustrating. Like, oh great, he's dead. That'll give Lucy a little more like edge to her. Now that a person she was interested in was taken away, and she's naive to his incompetence because he saved her life, or whatever. Yeah. But he's alive from a power suit that can obliterate a building with a kick, and that should have been able to defeat a bear with a punch, but it didn't defeat the bear. It was so frustrating.
As someone who uses power armor very frequently in the games, there are times where I just drop the guns, drop the swords or whatever, and just because it's so powerful. Right. There's even like a little skill that you get where if you can sprint in your suit, you're trained and you just like knock everything out of the way. And again, maybe a little gimmicky for a show, but it is a hydraulic like suit meant, I believe, like the whole reason for it outside of war was like it can like move cars and like do like superhuman things. Like
and even Cooper said he used them when he was a soldier before.
Exactly, right? So they're pretty high end in terms of like a nuclear like if it was me versus a raider and I had a power suit on, I'm winning, right? Yeah, it was not the way they kind of did the Brotherhood was not my favorite, but I was happy to see the Brotherhood.
I mean, yes, the suit looked cool, but the inconsistencies just drove me up the wall. Yeah. Especially with, again, like, it's not really the actor's fault per se. I just didn't like that they had this stupid character literally make the worst and stupidest decisions throughout the entire show, and there was like no consequence for it. Like that was very frustrating. But oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to actually see if we could maybe flip the coin and go to a really good character.
Fine. But fine, go ahead. Who you think was a good character?
I love the Ghoul so much. Okay. Like the Cooper, and I loved how they were able to build the story
through his eyes.
But then they're able also to build the world with like what you were saying earlier, like with the flashbacks of like how you can kind of see like how he didn't necessarily have like a part in the nuclear apocalypse, but like his wife kind of was, maybe you could say, at the forefront of the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
exactly, right? And then you don't explicitly, correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't explicitly get to see him become a ghoul. No. But you just see he's a ghoul now, and ghouls have a whole thing that they can just live for forever.
He's basically like a zombie.
Yeah, exactly.
Conscious zombie.
A conscious zombie with like the higher like durability and all that kind of stuff, right? Because he's just used the nuclear fallout already. You could see like the how life was for him before and then how life is for him now, and they kind of like keep it shrouded in mystery, like how did he get to that point.
Right.
And you do kind of figure out it's more so like he's just looking for his daughter, and like because his wife and the daughter were taken into a vault, and he wasn't able to make it, and he was just trying to he's just trying to find them. But like how did he survive? Like how is he so like dope skilled? And like he was like a
soldier.
Yeah, exactly. Soldier turned into kind of
An
like
actor.
act like kind of like an icon,
Propaganda,
right?
yeah.
Exactly. So like he has a degree of skill, and for other characters' lack of skill, to see how well he'd do in a fight or how well he'd do in just surviving, right? It was very impressive to see. And in seeing kind of how his life was during the flashbacks, a little bit of what you mentioned a little bit earlier too. But yeah, the Fallout series, I'll only speak on Fallout 4. It's supposed to be alternate timeline or whatever, where
Right, it's like a alternate America where nuclear war happens.
Somewhat like the nuclear war does like happen, right? But in like the 1950s, like the like Sahobs and Greaser and hey, why iota, like type of America.
Yeah.
The like nuclear fusions discovered earlier, so all the nuclear stuff is incorporated into civilization like
right.
already.
So
that's how
advanced tech earlier.
like that robot. Remember with the whole like scene with like I'm gonna harvest your organs, right? It's all like put together like that, and so then being able to see how life was then, and then even with like all like the technology that they were like developing then, and like the Pip Boys, that the wife like broke out. That was so cool to see, just as a fan of the Fallout series too. But having like the seeing like the difference in character of like what happened in this universe or something,
right?
I thought was so cool. Like you could see Cooper as the charismatic, suave movie star soldier guy with
and some kind of like moral, like he had some kind of like things
like
that
this
he
isn't right
was
type thing or
wrong
whatever.
Yeah.
To a zombie bounty hunting, what you got, like more drugs or like whatever type thing. Like
right.
That was I love to see it. Honestly, it was very cool, and you could. Like he wasn't necessarily a good guy in the show, like in the wasteland. He was kind of doing his own thing, and he just had a job to do. And he was like, well, this is a part of it. Like I need this head too, so you're gonna come with me, and like you're gonna like be my prisoner, and we're gonna go get it. So he had absolutely no qualms about like taking her out if he needed to, just for the sake of admission. And it was just. I like to see that. It's a very cool character indeed.
Well, yes, Walton Goggins was, again, one of the two characters that I really loved about the entire show, and the fact that he played the same person in two different timelines, or two different parts of time, and then he had all those prosthetics, and he was definitely like one of the more redeeming aspects about the show.
And I need to send a special shout out real quick. The fact that he became the Vault Boy, the little kid, like that, this whole thing.
The logo.
He was as a fan, like that's just so cool to like see. Like he was the
origin,
the icon basically of the I want to say like Vault-Tec and like the Vault Boy and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was so cool. Like that. Was
like you said, I think the way they told the story through his life, I think that was one of the better parts of the show, because it's really this mystery of what's going on with Vault-Tec, and like how did the world get to where it is, how did nuclear fallout happen, but then they need to find this guy who stored the fusion technology in his head, so he has his own motives and stuff like that. But I really enjoyed seeing all that play out, but I was so frustrated at the end, because even though I liked the last episode, we know that he's been in the suit before.
Yes.
And knows the weaknesses of the suit. So if he knows the suit has a very compromising area right here, and he's already been proved to be a great sharpshooter, why didn't he just kill Maximus the first time he saw him? Why spray and pray so many bullets, and he didn't kill Maximus at all, when at the end he just one shot with 3 of the Brotherhood of Steel at the end in the California Griffith Observatory.
Do you mean Maximus or the dad?
No, Ghoul.
No, the Ghoul was like the sharpshooter, but he missed the thing. But
he knows of the spot already. So why didn't he kill Maximus in like episode 2 or 3 when he first meets him?
Oh,
because
okay,
clearly
okay,
Maximus doesn't know how to operate the suit, and he should know that because he's operated the suit
Gotcha.
in war and won, aka meaning he stayed alive enough to come back home. So why wouldn't he just take out Maximus with that one armor-piercing shot in the compromised area that he already knows of, when in the last episode he does that to like 3 Brotherhood of Steel Man Titans or Knights or whatever.
Titans, okay.
Because he was like, bang, bang, bang. He was like unstoppable at the end. So it made no sense to me that if he knows that at the end, he should have known that at the beginning. Because the knowledge that he says he has at the end, he had this whole time in the show. Again, plot armor for Maximus.
I was about to say, like, Jared, they need to have a TV show still with a knight as part of the whole thing.
You can do it better. That was frustrating.
Gotcha. Okay, interesting.
Another aspect about his storyline that I wanted to get your thoughts on. For the Vault-Tec capitalists who were trying to make the most money possible, it seemed very stupid to think blowing up the entire world, aka your customer base, would be the most profitable strategy for your very specific Vault-Tec service.
Yeah.
Like, for people who are supposed to be like these billionaire, trillionaire, intelligent people, that seemed like a very stupid decision to want to blow up the world so that everybody
goes to your product,
who stays alive
yeah,
uses your product, but they only probably use it once, because in the next 50 to 200 years, you decrease the population of the world by like 99.5% or whatever. So why would that be your best business strategy instead of making a product that caters to a global populace? Like, that was super odd for me. I like that they revealed it and like how they told the story. I was very engaged with.
Okay.
But I didn't like when they revealed the people who wanted to make the most money decided to destroy most of the world to do it.
Most of the market, basically.
Yeah. I was like, this is stupid. This is not smart business practices. And then it was just kind of funny how they all like met together and they all had these stupid ideas. I was like, this is just incompetence. Like, how are you guys these billionaire moguls and this is your idea?
So unfortunately, I can't speak too much on a specific aspect of that. I mean, we're HES majors here. I'm not in marketing. I don't know business like that.
From a business standpoint, it made no sense. Like, you're not going to make the most money by killing off your clientele.
If my memory serves me correctly, in Fallout 4 and I think in most of the Fallout games, you actually don't really know how the bomb started. Like,
I thought it was just because of actual war.
No, that's what the impression is, right?
Okay.
So the whole thing, I think, in the best way I can remember, is that China,
Nuked.
U.S.,
Yeah.
I guess Russia too, or something like that. Just nuclear war started, and it was like, right? And actually, the Vault-Tec that I'm familiar with, actually, like, okay, yeah, they did this whole where the vault was, the threat of nuclear war is real, and so you need to protect yourself and your family, right? In my head, it kind of made sense that they put themselves on the forefront of, I guess, like nuclear safe
Protection.
nuclear protection.
It's a super niche market.
Right,
It caters
exactly,
to like
right?
the top 1% of people who can afford it.
So my thing was like, it kind of made sense. Like, oh, like if they actually could, like if they have the business model, whatever, and they could kind of be like the cause of what nuclear like war would. If they could be the cause of nuclear war, it would
justify their product.
It's like, yeah, like, oh shoot, we're in the threat of nuclear war. You guys need these bunkers. No, we don't need the bunkers. Oh look, a bomb just dropped. Oh, we need the bunkers. It kind of makes sense. But my biggest thing, the point I wanted to make was that I was under the, like, my impression of Vault-Tec from my experience playing Fallout 4 is that they're actually like kind of like sociopathic scientists. Like, they actually just try to almost all the vaults have a
Experiment.
a nefarious experiment behind the scenes. I think there was one, there's a vault in Fallout 4 where it's like, oh, if we run out of food, what would people do? And another one, it's like, oh, if one person's infected and nobody knows who it is, like, how far will people go?
Well, so, they alluded to that, but even then, like, their idea of we can reshape the world into our image I was like, you have 100 different vaults, so that's going to be different images. You're not going to have a consistent, congruent standard when you have 100 different new factions. So you're not really creating the world in a brand new image. You're just creating it for the rich people who had the opportunity and the means. But then even then, their idea of like wanting to create a world full of managers, it was kind of stupid as well, because the manager guy was not intelligent. I was like, he made stupid decisions as far as how her dad, Ella's dad, or Lucy's dad, like he's introduced as like this nice, really good fella, but then his immediate response to letting his wife leave the vault is to nuke her in the Shady Sands town. I was like, this is good management practices? Like, why not just let her go and realize that, oh yeah, like there's a lot of craziness out here, because it seemed like the people in the vaults had it the best. All they had to do was just stay in there.
Yeah, and they had all the supplies already ready for them. Yeah, and they could recycle and re-up on supplies.
And then even the brain guy, I was like, why is the little brother not just smashing this brain after all he's figured out? Like, he was being lied to his whole life. He should have just smashed the brain right there. He was no threat to him.
I'm pretty sure the brain, Robo Brain. Shout out to all the players. The Robo Brain, I'm pretty sure he locked him in, and he's the only one that could open it up. So if the kid smashed his head in, he'd be locked in the room forever.
But it seemed like he was locked in there regardless. All I'm saying is, like, the plans that they had seemed very short-sighted, and
I want to mention too, I want to say that was a original show adaptation too. Actually, you don't get that in the game. You only get like, hey, war. This business was at the part of it, and then this turns out this business is actually a really weird psychological experiment everywhere type of business or something. So I thought that was a clever thing that they did to kind of give you a bit more of a reason why like Vault-Tec would be at the face of like the nuclear like management stuff for if the bombs fell. So I thought it was interesting, like, oh, like the U.S. and China or whatever, or U.S. and the America and whoever else throwing bombs or whatever. To kind of like think like, oh, like they're the reason it started, so that they can make like some money somehow. I thought that was clever, but we didn't get that in the game, if I remember right, at all. It was all more so just like, this is Vault-Tec, you go into vaults, and then, oh man, like they like genetically spliced people with animals in this one.
Right, and they kind of showed that in the show, where some people became the like creature of the lake.
They got mutated, yeah.
Again, like, I get it from like the science perspective. Like, they had a vault full of scientists, so you think they're gonna make survival way easier because they're very smart and intelligent. But again, as the story played out, and as I reflected on it after finishing the series, I was thinking to myself, like, they made a lot of stupid decisions that would not really make sense.
Yeah.
So again, like, maybe you can like the show if you don't think about it too hard, but when I thought about the show, it just seemed to contradict itself as the story fleshed itself out.
As we're talking about the vaults and the one that we mentioned, like the things are just like genetically weird and all that kind of stuff, that one vault we ran into, the whole thing with like didn't they worship like the Ash Queen, right? And that
Moldaver.
was the Moldaver's character and all that kind of stuff. I found it weird. I was like, what? Like, what the heck is happening in this vault? And so that threw me off a little bit too, because I was like, is this like a Children of Adam kind of thing? And the Children of Adam are another faction in Fallout 4 specifically.
Oh, okay.
I was like, is that what they're kind of trying to do? The Children of Adam worshipped Adam, which is the bomb, like the first bomb that fell.
Oh.
And they think like the nuclear energy is like a form of worship or something like that, and it's like you must be irradiated or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. It's really weird. You see, it's really weird. So they were kind of doing something similar with the Ash Queen in that vault, and I was like, is this like what we're going for or something? One of the issues for me, I guess, in terms of the show, if we can like kind of maybe address that here soon too, was kind of like it did feel convoluted a bit at times, where it was like, wait, okay, now Cooper's character knows Moldaver from the past. And like,
how did she survive this whole time when her body probably wasn't frozen, or maybe she somehow got a cryo chamber? It just didn't make sense.
Lucy's dad was like he was with Vault-Tec way before, and then he also somewhat survived. But then the son like found the whole like cryo chambers and everything. So do they just like freeze him and wake him up to like do something? And then I'm pretty sure there was like a thing with like Moldaver like knew the dad, like back at Vault-Tec, but
Because she
like,
was a competitor. She was a scientist of a competing organization because she created
That's
the
what it is, okay.
fusion technology.
Okay,
But Moldaver
okay.
was another part I didn't like because at the beginning of the show we just think she's a raider, but then she's a very popular raider, and then she was also in the era where Cooper existed.
Yeah.
So how did she stay alive for this 200-year period?
Yeah.
Do we have to assume that she somehow got her hands on the cryo chamber tech?
Or she has her own like
Or she
stuff
has
or
her
whatever.
own?
Yeah, exactly.
Would have been nice to show that.
Yeah, almost like to a degree they almost did too much, and as opposed to if we like have all these little points or less points and we can like do more with like each one or
Sure.
something potentially.
Well, then it was also frustrating with her character that she wants to get the access codes so that she can
Give power back.
she
right?
can
Wasn't the whole
give
thing?
power to all of California because it's free power, her fusion tech.
Yeah.
So then you'd think that there's a manager in Vault 32 that has the codes because apparently all the people who worked for Vault-Tec should have access to the code to unlock the fusion cell technology.
Yeah.
But then if the person in Vault 32 didn't have it, or if they all killed each other before they got there, then why are they all decomposed by the time that Vault 33 figures it out?
Yeah.
And then why didn't she just wait to get Ben Linus?
Yeah, I was wondering if you were gonna make the reference.
Because like, why didn't she just get him like way faster? Why delegate this to somebody else when that's literally all you need is Ben Linus and his technology? And then she could have just accessed Vault 32 from the outside because we can see that there's a door on the outside.
Yeah.
Oh, you happen to know Rose, or actually from Vault 33. You happen to know Rose, the mom of the manager who has the access codes that you need? Like, it just seemed like there was way too many steps that happened in between that didn't need to happen for where we start with and end with the series.
Yeah.
And then at the end, like she kept Rose on a
Like
leash and
like in
alive.
a chair, but like
It was
she's
just-
a ghoul, and you can just see the necklace. And
I was like, this is just seems like convenient for the plot, so that Lucy knows that she's the mom. But
give something for
is
Lucy
it really
to be like mad at
humane?
Moldaver about.
Like, is it really humane to have this person just stay there? That you, it was just her
And then,
character
like,
frustrated me by the end.
Moldaver like also knew Lucy as like as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like, how's Moldaver alive like this whole time? It's a weird. No, I can understand that. I understand your frustration with that for sure. Real quick, drop a comment and put a thumbs up if you also like the show Lost. You know, with our homie Ben Linus in the show. I thought it was a cool surprise. I was like, oh look, it's him.
Right. Yeah, like, and
so cool.
he was there for like one episode.
And that was so I can understand your frustrations with like those issues in the plot and kind of like the weird timeline of everything. I actually had some of those same issues too, but again, like as being a fan for the whole Fallout series, I was just keeping an open mind to it and it was fine. But if we are talking about the gripes of what our issues were with the story and like the show, I actually didn't like how they kind of did not show off like the probably one of the aspects I love so much about the Fallout games, and that was like the customizing guns, customizing your clothes, your armor, your power armor specifically, I guess you could say to a degree, the improvement and like the weapon building mechanic system. They didn't do like any of that. They didn't show like how you need to like gather resources to like make something. There was no like handiness like that inside of the show, and I was a little like ticked off because I was like, are they gonna build a gun soon?
Right, you
Or
could have
are
had
we
Lucy
gonna-
start out with her trank gun,
Yeah, and then like
upgrade it to some kind of more lethal weapon.
and it could be the syringer, which is an actual gun in the game where you can make it into a whole like you get a gun like a gun from a mission, and like you can put like syringes in it, like it's like a medical thing. Yeah, and then you can upgrade it to like the rifle. Yeah, I'm just saying that aspect is one of the things that made me fall in love with
the game.
That is what is one of the things that made me fall out and no, that one doesn't work.
You fall out of love with the show because they didn't have that.
There you go, perfect. So you got it. They didn't show that, and I was like, come on, like that's one of the best parts of the game, like showing the scavenging and then putting it all together. As we are in a nuclear wasteland and we need resources, we need to get creative. There were even guns in the game that were made out of wood blocks and like old pipes that they would find from like broken down houses. And
I mean,
I'm
if
like,
anything, there was that very small group who had a weapon that shot like a baby toy through somebody.
the junk jet, yes sir. Yes,
But
sir.
yeah, that was like literally the one person. And
yeah.
Another thing that I'll bring up when it comes to like what I understand about the game, it seems like it's a very big world, like a huge map, So when it came to the show, they seemed to go along that route. Like, this is a very big world. The whole America and all the other countries were affected by the nuclear bombs dropping.
Yep.
But then it was, they seemed like they made the world big, but then shrunk it because all of our characters were like in proximity of one another.
Yeah.
It was frustrating because I was like, all of a sudden, I keep calling her by her name, Ella.
That's right. I'll call her anytime.
Like, all of a sudden, Lucy finds Maximus when he's stranded.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the Ghoul, Maximus, Lucy, and Ben Linus are all in the same port where Linus needs to get his travel to Moldaver. Like, I get it's California, but California's ginormous.
That's
true. It was kind of frustrating that they all were, like, from the beginning, like, not even like by episode 8 or whatever, they all their plots intertwined. It was like, nope, episode 2, 1, all of them were in like the same location. I conveniently need to feel like I kill something. Speaking of Titus, I need to kill something. So I get dropped right to where Ben Linus and the dog are. It was just, and why would the dog want to follow the Ghoul anyway? The Ghoul just knifed the dog in the side, and then all of a sudden it wants to obey him. Like, it was like, this is not how. It did not seem like how it would be how a dog would behave. A German Shepherd that's made to be aggressive. It was just like this. This show is just frustrating. It was frustrating.
I can tell you that's not how dog taming works in the game. In the game that I'm most familiar with, you actually are given a dog and he just kind of comes up to you. But no, if you hit other dogs, they will fight back.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it fell in love with the Ghoul, and it just didn't make sense. I was like, there were so many plot conveniencies that just took me out of the show.
I can see what you mean. Yeah, I can see what you mean. In keeping in mind all of our video game adaptation cultures or
things
we have: Mario movie, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, Assassin's Creed,
Last of Us.
Last of Us.
Don't talk about Halo. That show was awful.
I was not going to mention Halo. No, just kidding. My bar was pretty low, so I would almost say I just went into it just seeing like, oh, how are they going to pay homage to like one of my favorite games? And music was there, the power armor, the look was there. Mm-hmm. To a degree, you can kind of see the culture like in the little town that they all like somehow met up in, right? Mm-hmm. That is kind of like how it looks to a certain degree, like in Fallout 4, like it's everyone just kind of like a ramshackle put together, and not everyone is just like mean like the old lady, but like okay, like fine, like I understand, right? Sure, crotchety old lady or whatever. Right. But then you also have like the really like weird like healing stuff they had. Like they just like attached a foot to the dude or something like that.
I can make that logical leap because I was like, okay, they clearly have advanced tech, so all of a sudden they have like a med pack that can give them instant healing or cauterizing of a wound or something.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, like I can buy that.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, right. So I was almost watching more so you could just say just for like kind of like, oh, like this could be a fun little like thing to like, you know, just make note of or whatever. Sure. And I even want to say that I'm pretty sure Ben, the scientist / Ben Linus's character, I'm pretty sure he was part of what you call the Enclave, and that
we get nothing of,
right? And they were the big, I'm pretty sure, antagonists of Fallout 3. And again, Fallout 3 I would say takes place in California, and then New Vegas, obviously in Vegas, right? And then Fallout 4 actually takes place on the East Coast. So, and then the Brotherhood still shows up from the West Coast, like to handle things there or something like that or whatever. So, it almost kind of like the way I kind of like understanding the way they're doing the Fallout show is like, here are all the Fallout games that we can take different like parts of, and we're gonna put it together in our own like story, and kind of like find a way to relate it all together. But like you said, like one of the things I was kind of a little on the show about was like, how are all these things coming together like now? Like, again, the dad was a Vault-Tec manager who was cryogenically frozen this whole time or something, and came out only
50 years ago.
Yeah, when it was time for him to work. And then Moldaver, who was part of the rival group, but survived this whole time.
Well, it was everybody from Vault 32. So it's not just the dad. There are these two other characters, the blonde girl and the black girl who we saw as a young assistant. But then she's now this older woman. So it's like, there's 3 people who knew exactly what Moldaver wants, or Moldaver should know that they have access to, because she's also a scientist. So it's like, why are they working? Why are they conducting themselves in such a way as if they don't know what's going on the outside? They were in on the plot that they blew up the world, so that they could be the ones to survive and reshape it in their image. So the way that they conducted themselves, in the beginning of the show was fine because we knew none of that. But in light of the facts that we had at the end, it seemed like these people at the beginning would conduct themselves way differently and make different decisions because of the things that we were told that they knew. So, again, very, very frustrating for me.
I can understand. This is one of the fair instances I almost feel like it's nice to be cursed with knowledge, because I was able to just watch it and be like, oh, cool, there's power armor. Oh, look, there's the bears in the video game are actually called Yaogwai.
Right.
And I don't know if they in the game or in the show.
Yeah.
But again, knights are like first boots on the ground, like we're here to fight, and I was like, oh, they're cowards, all of them actually, or something
they're
like that, whatever.
Too.
Yeah. Oh, this scribe, this initiate, this squire has no respect for his knight or whatever. Like that's not really the vibe you get from Fallout 4, but fine, whatever. The music, like I said, the look and everything like that, I just found it like it's like just like cool little Easter eggs, homages from the games to just watching this show. So I almost feel like my bar was chilling down here because all of like we know like video game adaptations, and then yours was up here for like a super riveting story with amazing characters and all that or whatever.
I'm just saying, when you have Arcane, when you have
Arcane's a good one.
Last of Us, the bar's high in terms of like these. Even Arcane was animated, so it's not like super big budget.
Yeah,
but the story was incredible.
Yeah, I like.
And like you don't need to have played the games to know that.
Yep, absolutely.
Last of Us, it was an incredible story, even with all like the different episodes that made it their own and took their liberties from the game to make it unique for the show.
The Last of Us did that right. Like it was
Very
cool
right,
to see
right.
from like what they had a detail in the story in the video game in the show, but then they expanded on it. Yeah, exactly. It seems like Fallout just took everything they could and put it all together. Right. And I guess it kind of worked, but I mean, I'm just here to watch and chill it out. You know,
So
I'm not analyzing too much.
So Jedd is going to watch Season 2 and tell me what he thinks before I try to give Season 2 a shot.
And Jared's going to play one of the Fallout games before Season 2 starts, so he gets a little bit more of an understanding of how it works.
I'd rather play Skyrim.
I understand for sure. No worries. It's totally cool. I'm definitely also going to watch for Lucy again, Ella Purnell.
Again, she and Walton Goggins were the best parts of the show.
Absolutely.
I like that her character started off as fish out of water. She kind of gets shown that the world is not what she's made it out to be.
And she kind of has to, like, buck up or shut up. Like, she needs to... Right. Like, I think Walton Goggins' character, the Ghoul, was kind of, like, jabbing at her the whole time. Like, who you gonna kill now? Or, like, whatever, something like that. And she's like, no, or, like, whatever. And then she kind of learns... I would agree 1,000% with the Ghoul. Like, you kind of have to in the type of, like, situation, if that's the world we live in, right? It's like kill or be killed. And it's like...
I would have preferred if they had a moment where she like literally broke down, like had a psychotic breakdown, because she's experienced a super traumatic experience. Like episode 1, she thinks she has this really safe, cush life that she's been destined to have her children be the ones to create the world,
ordained to be married, like or pre.
Right.
What's a pre arranged marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She has that going for her. Everything's all nice and proper. Her and her brother, her dad's great.
Right, she's super skilled, obviously very pretty. She's got it going on, but then like her world literally turns upside down. Like most of the people she grew up with died.
Yep.
And then like she doesn't know where her dad is.
Yep.
So I can get it from like maybe a post-traumatic stress thing. Like she's in fight or flight mode. Save my dad. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I would have preferred if there was a moment where she broke down because everything that she thought she knew was wrong.
Yeah.
And like even if you could say that was kind of at the end, but it was just like very small tears. Like I would have preferred it was like literally like in the corner can't function. She's trying to do the right thing by people, but it doesn't work in this kind of world. But it was very underwhelming.
After the whole robot, like I'm going to harvest your organs and take you out. That's when I expected like a breakdown, because I was like, that was terrifying.
Well, and somehow she breaks out because the robot didn't secure her legs. So again, plot armor.
Codsworth would never. They know, right? They know.
Plot armor and plot conveniences, man. It just
it's
frustrating.
Is it confirmed that there's going to be season 2?
I don't know. Probably, yeah.
I'd probably watch again just because it's something that I enjoy. I probably wouldn't put too much stock into it, but it'd just be just a fun watch. Just to like, yeah, hey, my favorite game also has a not terrible show, according to some, and should be fine. Cool, like fine, whatever.
I mean, yeah, what they introduced by the end, like the fact that Walton Goggins' daughter and wife are still out
Yes,
there, and
yes.
who knows how
That's what
old
I'm
they
most
are,
embedded,
or if
yep.
they were frozen. And then Lucy's partnered up with the Ghoul, and she's gonna maybe kill her dad. I don't know.
And then I believe, isn't Maximus like higher ranking? Like he's an actual knight now, and
Just
it's
write
like
off that character, please. He's just so frustrating. Say like he died putting on his armor, and like
dang, Jared, goodness, please calm down, man.
the way they had that character written was awful. Like, literally failing upwards. He was stupid the whole time. Very little to no growth or development from him. It was just frustrating.
And personally, I mean, you know, I feel like you have familiar stances on this, but just like, really? Like, they're into each other now, too? Like,
Yeah, it was kind of forced. I get, like, maybe from her perspective, like, oh, a knight in shining armor. But this knight is clearly incompetent and doesn't know what he's doing. So, yeah, again, it was a cliche, forced romance that
I could do without, honestly, because I have other priorities in the Wasteland as opposed to romantics. Piper will always have my heart. See, they know. But
well, I think to wrap things up, for somebody who's played the game, it seemed like you had a decent time with the show. You're pretty enthusiastic about season 2, but the bar is pretty low.
Jared hit the nail on the head pretty well already. Big fan of Fallout, primarily Fallout 4. You know, played all the DLCs, played maybe 4 times now. I did enjoy the show, just really more so just for like its little Easter eggs for the game that I love and hold close to my heart now. But in terms of it being a show, it's like, I'd probably choose to watch something else, not gonna lie. But if there is a season 2 and Ella Purnell makes an appearance again, I'd probably watch, so it'd be totally fine.
She's the star of the show. She's definitely, her and Walton Goggins will definitely be in season 2.
She's definitely the star of the show for me. You know what I'm saying? What were you saying still from Avatar? I'm still hyped.
Well, again, in terms of adaptation, this just is not high on my list.
Cool. Yeah.
Especially considering from a narrative perspective, how the plot played itself out. Started off very interesting. I liked the mystery aspect.
Yeah.
But then when we get to know the facts seem to violate the entire premise of the show, which was, again, like if you want it to be interesting, you can do it differently. If you want it to be lighthearted and slapstick funny, that they kind of went for, that's totally fine. You don't need to have a narrative ultra depth and super compelling, but just don't make the show violate itself. That's my biggest frustration, that if you're introducing like this expansive and deep kind of world where there's many different motivations and groups of people, then have them be true to who they are or who they're supposed to be versus contradict what you're kind of introducing them to be.
Did we totally miss like Maximus and that new squire he got? Because
I don't want to talk about that.
Never mind. All right,
what are you gonna say?
No, we'll just leave it for when we review season 2, because I'm pretty sure like he just escaped and is just
because
somewhere.
he became a ghoul and then all of a sudden had a change of heart and wanted to give them the Ben Linus head because he got the arrow through the neck.
Yes, that's what it was.
And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, here's what you need, and I'm gonna go.
We'll save it for season 2.
And somehow he doesn't get paralyzed after falling off of a really high tree, but okay.
I couldn't tell you either. Cool. I was just wondering if we were going to, but no, sorry, never mind. Cool.
Well, and that's the gist of our thoughts on the Fallout series on Amazon. Definitely would love to know what you think. Are you more on Jedd's side of things, where you're pretty positive on the show? You liked
Victoria, but not in this case.
You like what they had given you, all the Easter eggs. You like the Fallout show. Or are you more on my side, where it was pretty underwhelming from a narrative standpoint in the day and age where we have really great video game or
adaptations?
Yeah, in the day and age where we have a lot of great adaptations from other source material, Fallout left me wanting for more. But love to know what you think. Hit us up. Let us know your comments in the down below. We'll catch you next time on The Gist.